So we have public participation. First of all, we have, do we have the outcome, please? Lovely, thank you very much. Right, we have no time, we're 3 minutes on it, so I'm going to ask, because we've got a full public participation today. So, please, can I welcome Roy Sloan, who wants to talk about property development in Glastonbury, an introduction. Do we have a Roy Sloan? No, I don't think we have a Roy Sloan. That's a shame. Moving on.
Beliefs and creativity have felt that they can come in order to be themselves. This freedom is one of the reasons why so many people visit the town, as they feel they're able to express themselves when they are here. However, freedom is a very nebulous thing, as we also recognise that in order for everyone to have their freedom to live their life in peace and to speak freely, there comes a responsibility to ensure that your own entitlement does not infringe on the rights of others. With the Wiccan adage, do what thou wilt but harm none, we recognise that freedom of speech is not the same as hate speech, as this is removing rights from individuals to be themselves. People from groups with protected characteristics such as LGBT people and those of different races, for example, also deserve to be able to live freely in town without hate spread about them. Recently there's been an upsurge of homophobia and transphobia in town, and the good people of Glastonbury will not stand by and accept that this is free speech. We also know that the root of much of this bigotry and hatred stems from the distribution of The Light in town, a publication which twists the meaning of words, such as claiming that someone who is transphobic is someone who doesn't want children to be deceived and mutilated, as if trans people want that. This sort of rhetoric makes all of us in town more unsafe and therefore must be challenged. However, people who promulgate these ideas seem to believe that their version of reality and freedom of speech is the only version of reality, hence someone going boo behind me, and deny other people's freedom of speech. Our mayor has been accused of misrepresenting the town council meeting in March. Now, I was at that meeting and I've seen a YouTube video with Sandy Adams and read articles which also completely misrepresent the meeting. Sandy Adams says there were 200 people there and that we were all agog at the fascinating 30-minute talk she gave. Firstly, even including those downstairs, there were not even 100 people there, let alone 200. And many of us, shock horror, were not there to listen to Sandy Adams. I was personally there to talk about council spending on the mural, for example. And there was a person waiting after Sandy Adams had gone on and on and on to also speak about something completely different. Far from listening with rapt attention, most of us were waiting for her to stop talking about completely irrelevant things so we could actually get on with our evening. Similarly, if someone experiences a group saying that it was completely irrelevant...
Excuse me, free speech works both ways. She's free to speech.
Saying someone is saying something completely irrelevant is not hate speech. You really need to look it up. Similarly, if someone experiences a group as a mob, then that is their experience and they're entitled to voice that opinion. Furthermore, if someone has a legitimate complaint about someone in public office, one should pursue official channels to make that complaint. There have certainly been mayors in the past who openly insulted groups with protected characteristics, and the official channels of complaint were pursued. The facts are, people need to, as Jesus said, take the logs out of their own eyes before trying to remove the speck in their brother's. Otherwise, it's just projecting their own failings onto other people and being hypocritical. I can see in no capacity that Indra has broken the Nolan principles, and in fact, it is her honesty and integrity with which you have issue. I end with a quote from Brian Cox, who is indeed a professor. The problem with today's world is that everyone believes they have the right to express their opinion and have others listen to it. The correct statement of individual rights is that everyone has the right to an opinion, but crucially, that opinion can be roundly ignored and even made fun of, particularly if it is demonstrably nonsense. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you much, Emma. And can I just say, this is not a circus. Whilst people are talking, please respect them and allow them to talk, as we all will, okay? Otherwise, we will ask people to leave. Thank you. So next up, we have Susanna Clements talking about community cohesion. Hello, Susanna.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me to speak. I've noticed recently a really sad outbreak of nastiness in this town. And actually, I know most of the people here, a lot of the people here, and nobody that I know is nasty. So I'm not quite sure where this is coming from. And I would really hope that the people that I know who are actually fantastic would support the great people here, especially as I know all of the people around the table are volunteers, and give their time and their energy and often more resources because of what they believe in. And I really would love everybody in this town to respect this, because we could all, if we're brave enough, each of us would be sitting here. And if we're really, really brave, we might be elected to be mayor. And it takes a special sort of person to accept that. And especially if it's an ordinary, plain person who does things from our own principles, as we know that Indra is. So thank you so much. And to quote a friend, this tree will not be cut down.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Fabulous. Moving on, we have Melissa Taylor, who'd like to talk about road safety and speed. Thank you very much, Melissa.
Hello? Yes, right. Good evening, dear councillors. First, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your tireless, unpaid work that you do with integrity and openness to try to make things better for the people of Glastonbury. I've come to speak to you today about road safety. Some of you may know that 10 years ago, in another part of the country, my mother was killed as a passenger in a road crash. As I'm sure you can imagine, her death was horrific for our family and completely preventable. The driver that hit the car that she was in didn't exceed the speed limit, but he was travelling too fast for the road conditions. He was doing 60 at night in a rural A road as he came to the top of a blind summit and killed my mother and her friend. That day, she was one of 5 people who were killed on the roads in the UK every day. That's 5 people killed, 5 families devastated every day, unnecessarily. That's 1,825 people killed on the roads every year. Each of these deaths is avoidable, and speed is a factor. So why do we accept the violent deaths of 1,825 people a year as part of modern life? Why do we accept the fear that pedestrians and cyclists feel as they walk along and cycle along Chilkwell Street and other busy roads? I'm a member of the local Speedwatch group, and I've noticed that since the bizarre campaigns for the rights of the motorist, the anti-ULEZ, anti-15-minute city, anti-20 rhetoric voiced by our government, hyped up by the national press and repeated by the conspiracy believers, some motorists seem to be speeding more aggressively. We are privileged in Glastonbury to have a 20-mile-per-hour limit in our town. This will make our town safer and encourage more people to walk and cycle. Quite a few drivers do go over 20, and I wonder if they realise that only 5% of pedestrians who are hit at 20 were killed, compared to 50% hit at 30. That's a huge difference. In a crash, even 1 mile per hour can mean the difference between life and death. The formula is simple. The higher the speed, the longer the stopping distance, the harder the crash, and the greater the risk of death and injury. Speed limits are limits, not targets. They are set at the top speed for any particular road and should never be exceeded. A safe speed depends on the road conditions and is often far below the posted limit. Slower traffic makes Glastonbury feel more welcoming for the people who live, work and play here. This can mean that people choosing to walk and cycle to get around, and more people interacting with each other on the street, creating a healthier and happier community. Next week is Road Safety Week. The theme this year is Let's Talk About Speed. We'd like to start conversations with people about speed with a small stand in the town centre on Tuesday and Friday. We don't want to blame or shame anyone. We all speed sometimes, even when we try really hard not to. Everyone can do something that will make a difference. So we invite you all to come along and talk with us about speed, wear a sticker and share your commitment on social media if you like. So.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Things gone weird now. Thank you very much. We have our last speaker, Siobhan Mackenzie. Thank you. This is reply to Ian Much. It's just for you. At the last full council.
This is a response to Ian Much's open letter. Ian Much thinks the criticism of the Mayor seems a little harsh. The Mayor contravened the Nolan principles. She made public, pejorative remarks and ridiculed her constituents. One of our community, Sandy Adams, was openly defamed as untrustworthy and anti-Semitic, and without a retraction, would have every right to seek damages in court. All that Sandy and the rest of our community seek is a public apology. Even Boris Johnson managed to apologise to the people of a city. Glastonbury should expect no less of its mayor. Ian Much says that people are challenging the very idea of an ecological crisis. Not true. Glastonbury's community supports one of the largest eco-supermarkets in the UK because we know there is a crisis and we fully support the ecology movement. In the town hall, Peter Taylor's exact words were, "There is a real ecological and spiritual emergency on this planet. The problem is scientific censorship." Ian Much has read a light paper. The light paper is immaterial. There are many scientists and doctors writing for many publications. Caduceus, the Daily Expose, Conscious Life News, the Barrington Declaration, the Westminster Declaration, etc. Scientists and doctors are using various alternative publications to warn us over and over again that they are being censored. What does that tell you? Unelected organisations like the WEF and the UN are using climate change as a fear tactic to roll out an agenda of global control. Governments are falling in line with that agenda. Dutch farmers have already seen where this is heading. If we are not watchful, a regime will roll out under the banner of climate change that could dwarf the worst excesses of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. If we refuse to learn the lessons of history, we will be doomed to repeat them. Ian Much says, "I turned up at the meeting in the town hall and was disappointed to find that it wasn't a debate. All councillors were invited to the debate 4 months beforehand. You failed to respond, and now you blame the organisers when the fault lies with you. Open discourse is the central pillar of a free society. Do you want a free society? Or would you prefer to run a dictatorship with a compliant public? Do you not believe the townsfolk have a right to hold their councillors to account? I'm sorry if you weren't among us, but millions of people woke up during the COVID crisis. We saw media and governments act in unison to control through fear, violently censoring all other solutions, except one expensive vaccination which made corporations immensely rich and 17 million people dead. We are not vulnerable, as our mayor seems to think. Once you see the manipulation, you can't not see it. The Green Party's politics are being used. These are dangerous political times. You must apply your minds, open the discourse, stop patronising the people of Glastonbury. The people in this town already grow food, forage, don't use plastic, recycle, share resources, build resilience. They are as green as you are. We are also aware of the censorship, and because of that, we are questioning. It is my hope that Ian Much and other councillors begin to question too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. Thank you very much, Siobhan. That is the end. Thank you. That is the end of public participation. But as I said, or as I've said in my emails, that I would like to actually respond, and I did write an apology. So I'd like to read it out now. This is also being live streamed, and also this will go on the council website. So it starts. Dear Leela and other signatories of the petition, I realise my words fell heavy on many ears and caused upset. I am truly sorry. It was not my intention. Causing any distress to our elders with my language or reflections has saddened me, and I'd like to reach out in reconciliation and in conversation. I'm apologising because I feel to, not because of a petition. And although it does speak to the strength of your convictions, there is no actual premise or grounds for resignation. But I do take the sentiment to heart and will reflect on my language and for any future talks. For my excuse, the word mob. It's a status I have personally occupied for many years. It is the voice of the people, in apostrophes, to the authority. It just so happens I have now put myself into a position of authority, as in I stood for election. And so the world turns. I meant no malice. It was an interesting juxtaposition and a steep learning curve. Leela and others who we have corresponded a lot since the day of the 15-minute city talk in this council chamber in May 2023. Without it would seem satisfaction from misunderstanding, miscommunication, misrepresenting, perhaps by all parties. I don't think we will agree on the premise of what is happening in our world, but we all agree some things are not right. I would like to invite a conversation in time and with parameters agreed by all parties. And lastly, I thank you for your patience. You may have missed my opening comments at the October Full Council. I have been processing a death in my close family. And this is signed with an open heart and without prejudice. Indra Don Francesco, Mayor of Glastonbury. Thank you.
Indra.
So with that, I'm going to start moving into the meeting. Thank you. Oh, thank you, yes. What, you'd like to light the candle?
Yeah. Can I just ask the lady that read out the piece concerning me, could you email it to me, would you mind? And I'll reply to you. It's on the website, my email. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, sorry, I should have said if you want, yes, a reply to that correspondence. Thank you. Well remembered. May I ask, Leela, may I ask if you would like to light the candle, the Unity candle? Would that be okay? Yeah. Thank you very much. And as you light the candle, that's fine. So we have been told, so as we observe the silent minute, can we please remember Glastonbury's last abbot and his 2 companions? So I believe this is the anniversary, his anniversary. Okay, thank you. So Richard Whiting, John Thorne, and Roger James. And if we could all stand, please. Thank you very much, Leela. Thank you, people. Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So we will proceed swiftly. Can we please have, do we have any apologies for today, please, Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. I've had apologies from Councillor Cottle and Somerset Councillor Hart, both unfortunately feeling unwell. And Councillor Napper advised me that he's likely to be late this evening owing to a personal commitment. He's planning to join us later.
Fabulous. We look forward to his arrival. Right, we need to, right, declarations of interest, please. Anyone? Yes, Councillor Cousins.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am a trustee of the Glastonbury Mental Health Network. I'm also a director of Glastonbury Information Centre CIC, Glastonbury Tribunal Limited, and I'm a board member of the Glastonbury Town Deal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cousin. Anyone else? Yes, thank you, Councillor White.
I'm vice chair of the Town Deal Board.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
I'm the director of the Glastonbury Centre.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes,
I'm a member of the Town Deal Board.
thank you, Councillor. Yes, I am the interim chair of Red Brick and on the Town Deal Board. Thank you. So to approve and sign as correct record of the minutes of the last meeting, have people read this before this meeting? Oh no, we're not getting it. There we go.
And if you want, Your Worship,
No.
they were circulated, but it was...
No. Are we happy to just have what's
yesterday.
in front of us? People seem to have screens and paperwork. Fantastic. So if we could go to page 37.
Page 37 or page 39?
Oh, sorry, 39. Yes, you're correct. We are going to not have that door. Thank you very much. If you're leaving, that's wonderful.
Let the air out.
Yes. Fabulous. Are we ready to move to page 40? Thank you, one. Anything page 40, 41? (42). Gosh, it was a long meeting. Go 43. (44). Excuse me. 44. And 45. And if people think that is true and correct, I will suffice.
Right.
Thank you very much, councillors. Right. Do we have the neighbourhood beat? Sorry if we were sent it. (15th). Thank you. Oh, 14th. It's not 92, is it? No. Yeah, it's 23. Jolly good. Do we have the beat report?
Worship,
We did get it online, didn't we? Brilliant. No, that's great. Yes, please.
that what you would like me to speak to, Your Worship? You did skip that item.
Oh, blimey. Yes,
Item
I would
number 4.
love, thank you,
Number
Connor,
4.
for us to receive an update on actions from the last minute. Thank you.
So the first action I had from the last meeting was to chase the request for a speed camera. I did. I had a response, and that was going to the next A361 committee to consider. I did write Julian House a letter of support based on what the council agreed with. I asked them to send me a number of bullet points that would be useful for their letter of support, and I only included the one that I felt on consensus the council agreed with. Ones,
Perfect.
plural.
Thank you.
I believe the projections for St Dunstan's House were shared. Hoping I'm going to get some nods, but they were considered by the implementation subcommittee. I did ask the responsible finance officer about the budget items that were queried in the last meeting, and I've written to organise a working party, and that was for the budget drop-in, which was done. The format was agreed, and I'm hoping that later on this agenda, if not later in the correspondence and announcement section, to see which councillors would be willing to volunteer to take part in that, other than those who were on the working party. So that's the update on actions, Your Worship.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Connor.
I'll take the minutes for you.
And those are, thank you. Right, thank you very much, Connor. No questions? Fabulous. Moving on. So are we now ready to note the Neighbourhood Beat team's update and last crime statistic report? Do we have it on?
I haven't had an update, Your Worship, from the local beat team.
Okay.
However, the link to the latest crime statistics was circulated with the...
Thank you. And I'd like to, for it noted, and actually to say to the rest of the councillors, so we did actually have the latest crime reports at our High Street Crime Committee, and we were told that I think we are 25% down on crime the last year, and that any police beat team would bite your hand off for those kind of statistics, non-violently, obviously. But yeah, yes, Councillor Henderson.
If you look at the figures for the last 12 months, we're exactly the same as we were in October 22. The figures fluctuate. They ran about just above or just below the 90 mark. So I don't think we've come down definitely since August and July. That was a peak. So it's down in that respect. But I'd say as a trend, we're pretty much staying. It doesn't seem to be getting any better or any worse.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Any other comments? Right, if we move on then, please, to consider the schedule of payments. Item 6. Do we all have some? Yes, Councillor White.
Item 2919, Glastonbury Spring Water, replacement water point at the Market Cross. Anybody have any information on that?
Oh, yes, Councillor Henderson.
That is the drinks fountain. I imagine it must have been faulty. Glastonbury Spring Water put that in for a charge, I believe. And so I assume it's been repaired, but I don't know any detail.
I didn't hear anything about it. Did Connor? Do you?
It has worked sporadically, to be perfectly honest.
No, it's great. I didn't even know it had spring water in it.
Yes, it was reported to me a number of months ago by Councillor Ronnie Dougal that it was out of action. We had it investigated. We thought initially it was part of the problem we were also having with the electrics in the Christmas tree pit.
Oh, yeah.
But further investigation, it was actually the machine itself, not the connection to it, was at fault. So I believe that payment is for a replacement machine to be fitted. It was just outside of warranty, which is always the case.
Ugh, yeah. Isn't it? Built in. Yes, thank you, Cousins. Councillor Cousins.
Your Worship, if we are ever going to be doing any work on that fountain again, I wonder whether there's any merit in considering putting the little chute that provides water for dogs into what is a beautiful old receptacle could be moved to the other side, because councillors may have noted that the lip is uneven on the receptacle, and there's one side of it has a beautiful big lip and the other side is almost gone. And sadly, it's the side that's almost gone that's facing downhill at this moment because of the side it's on. So the water doesn't collect in there as much as it would if it was on the other side. So I just thought, it's bugged me ever since that piece was put in, and I just wonder if any work is going on a tour with that feature, whether somebody might consider that. Thank you.
Fantastic. These are the great things we discuss here in our council chambers. Could we turn it round? Would that work? So the lip is then, is that a thing that could?
If such a simple solution is viable, then how wonderful that would be.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Yes, so I'm noticing that the installation of the stand-up on Fisher's Hill is in the schedule of accounts. Does that mean that the work is now completed on that finally?
Work isn't completed, Councillor Ronnie Dougal, but it's been ordered, and if it's on here, paid for. And I don't know exactly when the contractor's coming to do it, but I'm pleased to say that we finally got a quote that was accepted, and it will be in their schedule of works to do. If you email Scarlett, she's the one who's closer to it than I am. She can give you an update on when the contractors told us they'll be on site.
Okay, but it must be pretty close.
Well, it must be if we've paid.
4,044.
It says 4,000 for South West Water.
What's the number? Sorry.
I will
2995.
2995. Installation of stand-up South West Water Limited. I thought it was Bristol Water, but never mind.
Yes, I think it probably is Bristol Water, but that, from off the top of my head, is how much Bristol Water were charging us for their half of the work. So I think that order's been placed. But as I say, if you could email Scarlett, she'll give you a much better answer than I, because it's
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I can tick that one off the list, all the rest.
Yes.
Perfect. Gosh, we're getting there eventually. Wonderful. Any other points, please? Yes, Councillor Manning.
2924, the repair to the cycle stand. Can I ask which cycle stand that is?
Yes, Councillor Manning. That's the one that was run down outside the co-op. A local contractor was able to repair that one. The insurance claim to have it replaced is still ongoing, but rather than get rid or dispose of the damaged one, it was felt it could be repaired. So
Brilliant.
essentially, we're going to get an additional cycle stand free of charge through the insurance, but keeping the old one.
Fantastic.
My understanding is that that currently isn't being refixed. It's not in place at the moment.
Not at the moment, it's not, no, because things with insurance companies are incredibly slow.
Councillor
And is
Dougal.
it going to be replaced outside the co-op?
Yes, where it was, where we've got permission to put it. It's just getting the insurance company to liaise with the other insurance company, getting it made, getting it fitted.
Thank you. Any more points, please? Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. 2974, to the tour sign. Question, presumably that work is in progress and will be completed very soon.
It is, Councillor Smythe. Yes, thank you. It's I hadn't been told it had been completed and dropped off. We have it here, and I've asked the guys to put it in their work schedule to go and fit it up where was agreed. It's just a case of getting them to have the time to go and do it. But yes, the sign itself has been paid for, and that work will be done soon.
Therefore, I'm very happy to accompany them when the work is done.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Smythe. Any more, please? I think we've gone down. We've reached the bottom. Oh no, you've got next page. Yep.
You can sign that one when you're ready.
Thank you. Right, page 2. Any more, page 2? Are we okay? Are we happy with the schedule of works, schedule of payments? Yep. Yep, thank you very much. I will suffice. Oh, if you can sign that, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Connor. Fabulous. Moving on at a pace, we have item 8, to consider the external audit report and certificate 2223 and decide what, if any, action is required, please.
Your Worship, you
Yes.
skipped the budget
Oh.
monitoring.
Oh, blimey. Oops. It's my just lake of numbers. Thank you very much. So, budget monitoring report. We have page 1, 2, 3. Has everyone got a copy? Perfect. So page 1. Page 2. Yes.
I had one question. There's £2,500 appropriation for election expenses, but there's no election in progress as far as I know. I'm just curious what that's about.
Which page are we? Is that page 1?
Page 2.
Page 2,
What that is, Councillor Lockerbandoo, the council every year puts money into an earmarked fund for when there is an election. So rather than in an election year it costing us circa £10,000, which is a spike and then nothing, a spike and then nothing, Town Council makes an appropriation into a fund. The funds aren't displayed on the budget monitoring report because they sit in accounting terms separately. So there's an earmarked fund for election expenses, and that will be a movement of money from the accounts into that earmarked reserve.
Saging up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Ronan-Dougal.
So point number 7, the car park cottage rent, which we're not getting. Is there any movement happening on doing the renovations for that cottage so that we can start to receive income from it?
I can't remember off the top of my head, Councillor Ronan-Dougal, which Property and Assets meeting it was, but a Property and Assets Committee meeting decided that rather than immediately renting it back out for a private rental, because it needs a lot of work doing to it, that actually what we would do is try and do it in stages and consider the best use for the cottage once we've started to do some of the immediate works. So we're looking into what is immediately needed to fix, say, the damp and the roof, and getting a structural engineer's report on some of the very large cracks that are in the building. That's not been completed, but I'm hoping after Frost Fair, etc., the team can focus on it a bit more closely and start looking at what we need to immediately do, and then considering the cost of it and where we're going to get the money from.
Thank you. So any more from page 2? Page 3?
On page 2, item 12, Citizens Advice Bureau grant. Can you remember what the status of that is? Because it sort of almost disappeared, didn't it? The Citizens Advice Bureau.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Conor will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we allocated that money to another body, didn't we? Who we felt in more, more deserving.
Oh, Somerset Volunteering Network.
That's the one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Yes, Councillor Manning.
Can I just add that Citizens Advice are doing a service at the library at the moment, whereby you don't actually see a person in the flesh, but there's a booth where you go and you can communicate with somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think Street has the same. Any more on number 2? Going on to number 3. Any more questions? Are we happy to move on? Is it voting or ayes? We're just, yeah. If we're happy to move on, I will suffice.
Aye.
Thank you very much, councillors. No questions. Fantastic. Thank you. Now we're ready to move to item number 8, to consider the external auditor report and certificate 22-23 and decide what, if any, action is required.
Thank you, Your Worship. Could I ask you very kindly to consider, I've only actually just received the certificate from the Responsible Finance Officer this evening.
Yes.
I'm just reading through it so I can speak to it.
Right.
Could you kindly take the next few agenda items and come back to this one just while I'm digesting it so I can speak to it, if I may?
I will. Well,
thank you.
Fabulous. Now we have then to receive motions from councillors. Is that the right one? Right. Okay. So we have. So yes, we have a motion.
Yeah. I'd like, first of all, thank you for the apology that you gave. And I don't know to what extent it is accepted by the people who signed the letter. I mean, I'm really sad to have had to have put this motion, and I do it more in sorrow than in anger, and certainly with no personal animosity. However, I do believe that the office of mayor has been brought into disrepute. Now, before I go any further, I want to explain to the public, as Susanna already has, you've taken the time and trouble to come here, and the people who are sitting around this table, we're all unpaid volunteers. We get nothing out of it, and we don't get the kind of leadership training that, for example, a parliamentary candidate would get. They get put through tons and tons of training. We get a few Zoom meetings. And so I do not believe that the words of the mayor were uttered with any kind of evil intent whatsoever. But I think it was rather naivety and being caught up in the moment. If I thought otherwise, this would be a motion of no confidence. I'm not here to discuss semantics or definitions, but it is an objective reality that many, many people were offended by the speech that the mayor gave to the Green Gathering. And I've had numerous calls and messages, people explaining their hurt and their distress that was caused when they watched that YouTube video. And if you think about it this way, I think there's about between 150, 200 signatures on that letter now.
70.
That's almost as many, you know, you think about that in terms of the number of people who elected us.
There are more now than there were last month.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. So, you know, it's quite a lot of people. And for that reason, I don't think that the council can ignore the hurt and distress caused to so many of the townsfolk. Causing offence isn't a crime. Obviously it's not, because that's what free speech is all about. Nobody is suggesting that this was hate speech. But when a speaker is introduced as the mayor of any town, or this town, or whatever, if you're introduced in that capacity, then you are speaking in that capacity. And the role is brought into the agenda. And let me explain. I've spent a lot of my adult life in the London Borough of Hounslow. And I spent a lot of it canvassing and working for the Conservative Party there. And frankly, it's flogging a dead horse, but you meet people who agree with you that won't vote for you. Then I moved to Surrey, where I met people who'd vote for me. In fact, they'd vote for that glass of water if it had a blue rosette attached to it. But they didn't necessarily agree with me. And that's where I became quite aware of the kind of tribalism of politics. And why, for me, coming here to Glastonbury has been such a revelation, because here we have people who come and actually want to participate in the democracy of this council.
Thank you, Liz. Sorry, can you have 30 seconds left, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. So it actually broke my heart to hear people who'd come to here to tell people about their concerns and thoughts to be ridiculed and likened to a Monty Python sketch. Democracy is nothing without participation, nothing without transparency, nothing if free speech is curtailed by ridicule.
Thank you very much,
cannot.
Lilith, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We do, sorry. Councillor Lockabandi wants to speak to it. We do have a 3-minute timer. We ask that all of us, including councillors, do stick to it. Thank you.
Point of order.
Point of order, yes.
Excuse me, I was unclear what the motion was. It wasn't mentioned.
The motion is that the...
I didn't mention it.
It's on the paper in front of you, so I thought you could work it out.
Councillor, please, Councillor Osborne. You're actually supposed to say what the motion is. That was actually what was being asked from you. Sorry, we have Councillor Vandu and then Councillor Henderson, please.
Thank you.
Yes. Did you have your hand up first and then?
So I've heard, thank you, Councillor Osborne, for your speech. I think it's the most passionate speech I've heard you make in the Chamber these last few months. I have listened to the Mayor's talk, which was defence. I've read Lilith's petition, and I've heard the Mayor's apology. I thought her apology was sincere, heartfelt, and comprehensive, actually. At the same time, I personally feel glad we have a mayor who's an activist rather than a diplomat. And I think she'd agree she's an activist rather than a diplomat. I feel happy about that. But I salute her apology. Personally, I'd like to invite you, I think you're able to do this, to withdraw the motion, because I think its purpose has been accomplished. The apology has been sought and given, and I think it's as wholehearted as was asked for. So my request is withdraw the motion, because I think its purpose has been accomplished.
Thank you for that, Councillor Lockabandi. I would like to put it to the floor of this meeting. Are people...
No, Councillor Osborne, Councillor Osborne, point of order. That's not actually a thing.
Oh, sorry.
I know we haven't actually had training in this, but its standing orders is not to address the public or for the public to address outside of people's participation. So we had next, Councillor Henderson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Lockaband has pretty much said what I was going to say. The apology's been made. So I think this proposal has been satisfied. So I think we should, with Lilith's permission, I think we should move on.
Thank you. Any other?
Point of order.
Point of
Public
order,
participation is
please.
finished.
Sorry, this is from this is a motion. This is not to do with the floor. No, we didn't hear it read out. Would somebody like to read out the motion, please? That's what we were asking for.
If it's a thing that I'm allowed to do, I would like to just... The motion now for me is, are we accepting the apology? So I'm all right.
Okay, well, that's a new motion. Hang on, that's a new motion then, as far as I can see. So unless you put in a new motion, Councillor Cousins, would you enlighten us, please?
A point of order, and I look to the clerk to correct this, but when a motion has been formally tabled and numbered by the clerk as the proper officer, that motion is the motion that stands. It can't be completely reset or countered by the proposer, although it can be amended. So some of the words can be changed within the motion, but the option is to amend or withdraw. Am I correct, Connor?
Fabulous.
That is correct, Councillor Cousins. An amendment can't reverse the original intention of a motion. It can only change words within the current motion.
Thank you very much, Connor. Would you like to, Councillor Osborne, make amendment then?
Oh, I can amend it down to whether we would accept the apology given.
Are we happy with that, Councillor Ronnie Dougal and then Councillor Cousins?
Just a question on the amendment. The we presumably are the councillors because it's the councillors who we're talking to. So do we, the councillors, accept the apology on behalf the Mayor has given on behalf of the town? Yes, always.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that brilliant? Fabulous.
Councillor Cousins.
Sorry, Councillor Cousins, then we move to vote.
So we can, the original motion stands until it's withdrawn. So to amend the motion, but keep the nature of the motion, because I think it's absolutely right that members of this council do not use pejorative terms when referring to the public. I think it's absolutely right that they don't ridicule issues that are raised as issues of concern by the public, particularly if such remarks catch the notice of the police, for instance, on Facebook, and they have to report it to the clerk. These are sorts of things that we should not do as councillors. So therefore, as the Mayor has apologised, we could amend the motion as follows. We could remove the words call upon and replace them with thank, remove the words to apologise and replace them with for apologising. And therefore we thank the Mayor for apologising. That could be an amendment to the motion. It doesn't change the nature of the motion, which is calling for the apology to happen and the reasons why, but it thanks the Mayor for the apology rather than calling for the apology. We could amend it thus. I would propose that amendment if it's acceptable to the clerk.
I second that.
Yep, it's acceptable. Okay, fabulous. So the amended.
Now, Chair, now, Your Worship, we need to vote on whether or not to accept the amendment. If we do, then we vote on the amendment, or we vote on the original motion.
Yes, Councillor Cook, and then we'll go to vote.
The first thing I'd like to add is...
Is this answering the question that we're just answering?
I'm going to sit down.
Okay. We've just called for an amendment, so that's what I'm asking. If we've got an amendment, please. Can we call to vote for the amendment? All in happy? Oh, sorry.
So, Your Worship, we're now voting to accept the amendment,
yes,
rather than voting on the amendment. And then it becomes a substantive motion, at which point it moves to be voted on.
Fabulous. Right. Can we vote, please, to accept an amendment? All in favour? Thank you. All against? All abstaining? 2 abstaining. Thank you very much. So with that in mind, can we please now vote on the amended proposal?
May I ask the clerk to please read it out, because I've forgotten because there's been so many words.
Thank you.
I'll read it in its entirety. We note that a significant number of the electorate have been caused great distress by remarks made publicly by the Mayor. These remarks include using pejorative terms to describe townsfolk and ridiculing issues of concern raised by them. We thank the Mayor for apologising unequivocally, unreservedly and publicly on all media platforms. Proposed by Councillor Osborne, seconded by Councillor Cook, amended by Councillor Cousin and Councillor Henderson.
Fabulous, thank you. Can we all move to vote, please? All in favour, please?
Recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote. Thank you very much.
Nope. If you're going to have a recorded vote, we need to go around the room.
May we go by names?
Yes,
so
please.
All in favour?
Councillor Cousins.
Councillor March.
Only Dougal.
Right.
White.
McDougall.
Bendu.
Anderson.
Councillor Osborne. Thank you. All against? None. Abstaining? Would you state your name?
Cook.
Don Francesco. Thank you very much, people. Are we happy to move on? Councillor Cook, did you want to make a comment, please?
I will try, yeah. Yeah, well done for apologising. I mean, had plenty of time to think about it, so I'm sure we've calmed down. But I still feel that there is a lot of grievance. I was talking to quite a few people who are still not happy. This hasn't gone away. Sandy Adams isn't here tonight, is she? I saw Sandy's response to your Green Gathering speech, whatever it was, and I feel that the matter's not settled in any way at all.
Thank you very much. Can I just stop you there for 2 minutes, because we are actually in communication. Myself, Sandy Adams, I would actually like to draw a line under this
I don't want to know
now.
about your private life. I'm just talking for Sandy.
No, thank you very much.
And that
I'm calling it, no, we're calling a line under this now. Anything that has to
can
go, yes, because we've just done the apology, we've just moved forward.
See. Oh, okay.
Now,
You asked him if he wants to comment. He's now commenting.
Yes, I know, but he's commenting on things that we're already doing.
Let him speak.
Seriously overriding your authority. So I will stop speaking because I don't think there's any need to
Thank
while
you,
you're still
Councillor
here.
Kirk. No, what I was saying is that we're in communication. Thank you. We're moving on now. If any members of the audience wish to leave, they may do so now quietly, or you're very welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Cousins.
Point of order, understanding order 1R5. The Mayor has the ability to ask the council or any person in the meeting to stop speaking.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cousins. Right. Thank you, everyone, for your public participation. Now, we've got another motion to look at. So, motion B, the council shall provide £500 toward the community Christmas lunch held in the town hall, proposed by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Osborne. Thank you. Would you like to?
Yes.
Oh,
seconded
yes,
by Councillor
Oakton. Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you for keeping us on track.
Thank you. Well, following the resounding success of Christmas lunch last year, we started our preparations for this coming Christmas about 5 weeks ago, and I ended up as chair of that Christmas lunch planning committee. All of the people involved were part of it last year. We brought all of the knowledge that we gained from that. We've got rid of the things that didn't work. We've streamlined the things that are unfolding, and it has gone remarkably quickly. At the moment, we're still meeting fortnightly, but shortly we'll be meeting weekly. We had some money left over from last year, about £1,700, so that is already here, so in the pot for this Christmas lunch. But the prices of everything has gone up. So we asked for a grant from a local anonymous donor, and they said they don't want to fund every year, but they might fund next year. We've just been given £250 by the Lions Club, and we have an application in with Somerset Community Forum for £400, and they may well provide, but we don't have an answer on that at the moment. So rather than leave ourselves short, we're asking if we can have £500 from this council. Any money that's left over, including donations on the day, will be carried forward into next year. So really, we just want to be able to buy all the provisions that we need in a timely manner and not worry about it. So I hope that meets with the approval of this council. And I have to say that after last year, people kept coming up to us in the street for months saying what a wonderful event Christmas lunch had been. And so I'm seriously hoping we'll do even better this year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Do you want to say anything?
Do we need? Yes, we want to.
Not really, except to say that again, this Christmas lunch is completely organised by volunteers who give their time for nothing, and it's to the good of the town. And many people turned up last year, people who were in dire need of a decent meal, and we were able to do that. And all I can say is that makes me extremely proud, not only to be a councillor, but to actually live in Glastonbury, where the people are so giving and so loving towards each other.
Thank you very much, Ed. Can I please ask people in the public to please, if you're here, you're listening. If you're talking, then please leave. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Thank you, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Cousins.
Move to vote, Your Worship.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, Worship, if they're going to move to vote, can I just clarify, this £500 would come from the grant budget line, the grants budget line. I think there's about maybe just over £2,000 left for the rest of the year. The rest will be considered by finance and general purposes on the, well, there's an item on the agenda to move the date. So at the next finance and general purposes meeting, this £500 would come from the grants budget.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Is that any questions about that? No, thank you. Move to vote. So all in favour, please, of £500 going to the Christmas lunch. Thank you very much. Gosh, I think we're actually united on that one. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very good. Thank you very much for that. Perfect. Moving on, item number 10. To consider correspondence received from Somerset Council regarding asset and service devolution. So has everyone had and read?
May I?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. I'll just very briefly speak to it. This letter is in the folder of papers this evening. This letter was received on the 8th of November, I believe, off the top of my head. Coincidentally, that was the evening of the staffing meeting, so the staffing committee have had a brief look over this letter. Essentially, in the light of the fact that Somerset Council have finally realised that they are in a financial emergency, as they themselves call it, they've decided to finally let towns and parishes know what services and potentially assets / liabilities might be on the table for devolution from Somerset Council to town and parish councils to essentially reduce their expenditure and their workload, and for towns and parishes to be able to take that on for the development of their communities. So what I was hoping, no decisions to be made at this meeting, however, what I'm hoping councillors will consider is a small working party of 4 councillors and myself to work very closely together before the December meeting of full council, where myself and that working party will bring a report of what assets and services this town council could realistically take on and deliver, what it could be capable of, and what would be achievable in terms of finance, resources, what the implications might be, in order that we can submit an expression of interest to the email in the letter to Somerset Council, so we can start working with them on the process of asset and service devolution, but in a way that doesn't mean we're swamped with new work that we can't adequately fulfill, and we've got a robust budget to actually deliver these services, and we don't just get the rubbish that Somerset Council doesn't want. So that's what I'm hoping you'll consider this evening. The reason I'm hoping it will be a small working party is because it will need to meet quite a lot. It will need to discuss quite a lot of information. And I felt that 4 members was a small enough group for it to be efficient, but large enough that it takes into account a number of different opinions from across the council. And anyway, anything that the working party recommends or wishes to the council to consider will come to the December full council meeting for everyone to consider. So thank you, Your Worship. You may wish to take opinions from around the table.
Connor. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Having been part of this staffing committee and spent at least half an hour discussing this shot across the bows, if you like, we did see it coming, I think. And the county are very close to declaring themselves bankrupt. We don't know how close, but it could happen before Christmas, or it could happen in the next 6 months. We don't know yet. But having observed the skills of various councillors around this table and been in a discussion already, I thought it'd be very wise if councillors Cousins, Manning and Lochabandu would consider being on this small working group. And of course, I worship the Mayor, as Mayor needs to be on it also, but I'd recommend that we have 5 and the clerk, so that there's room for one other councillor if they so wish to be on this very important discussion group.
Okay, can you say those names again? Cousins?
If they're acceptable with that. Cousins,
Manning, Lochabandu, yeah, that's good. And the standing Mayor.
Possibly Councillor Henderson would like to consider his experience.
Thank you. I'd be quite happy to be on this committee, but I'm also quite happy for somebody else who's keen to get stuck in. I mean, this is a very attractive proposition, I think, on paper. You know, we could take control of a lot of things for ourselves, but, you know, it's a big decision and we would have to be completely certain that we could, you know, we were given the funding to do these jobs. So it's not a decision that's going to be taken lightly. I know the people on the committee will make sure it's not. So I'm happy for other people to sit on the committee, but I'll sit in if nobody else wants to.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Well, Councillor Cousins, Councillor White, and then Deputy Lochabandu.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I'm in an extraordinary position because I never seem to take any. I don't really know what it means, holiday. I have 15 days holiday to take before the end of December, so I'd be very up for using those days to support this if I was part of the subcommittee. What I would say is that this new county council was sold to the communities of Somerset as something that would actually save money. It would reduce council taxes. It would be all singing, all dancing, and I think it would be able to turn water into wine at some point. I don't know, but what it appears to be is £100,000 in debt. £100 million, sorry, £100 million pounds in debt. Sorry, even worse then, of course. £100 million in debt. When we were first told about this, we were for £48 million was said only a few months ago. I can't quite understand how this is doubled, more than doubled in that short period of time. What I would say is that part of the problem within the letter that we've received states that how the county froze the council tax for 6 years. And the 6 years of not increasing the council tax has meant one thing: we haven't been able to pay for essential services. Do you remember when that county council was put into special measures over children's services? This is absolutely outrageous. We have to pay tax. I'm very happy to pay tax if I see services from it. But there's a lesson in that for this council and for the other successive parishes. If we move forward and think about taking on some of these services and some of the assets perhaps, we can start thinking about whether or not we're placing our communities at risk. And we don't want to end up bankrupting this council because Somerset is bankrupt, basically. And I think this is something that's going to, we've seen Birmingham go into bankruptcy. This is something that's going to sweep across the country, I'm sure. So I think we need to be very mindful about that. I know that this council used to do a lot of things when we were a borough, but the borough had council houses that raised an awful lot of money from the rent that enabled the council to do that. So I would just say to any councillors that are going on this committee, be mindful that we don't place ourselves into a difficult position.
Thank you very much. So we have Councillor White, Lochbandu, and then we'll come to you, Councillor Osborne.
Thank you. So I've been through this list several times in the last few days. I'm interested in being on that working group as well. I'd also thought an option before having a working group was for it to go on the resilience committee agenda on the 6th of December, and it could just be the focus for that entire meeting. So that's another option. And several of the things inside this actually merge with our emergency plan, flood safety and security, looking at the roads, the drainage, all of that. So again, I'm very mindful of what Councillor Cousins has just said, that Somerset Council is sitting there overwhelmed with the debt burden of 5 councils, you know, and so they have to deal with it in whichever way that they can.
Yep.
You know, and so different things came.
That's not true.
Is it not?
No, there was only one that was in debt.
Okay.
Somerset.
It's their own. Okay. Anyway, okay. So I'm uninformed on that.
Not Mendic.
Okay. So some of these things we already do. And so again, like the part about having some asset transfers, we could, you know, and so that there's a possibility for that, like the public toilets. So we already look after 3, and so we could take the 4th one over in St John's car park. So just as an example.
Yep.
And then the bit about transport I liked as well, and it might provide a different route for us to end up with our electric bus. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So however it goes. So I'm up for it, and I'm available most days of the week.
Thank you, Councillor White. Was it? Yes. Deputy.
So it's clearly an important thing for us to get to grips with and consider carefully, but also a little bit ambitiously. I think there's opportunities there as well. I'm in the same position as Councillor Cousins of having 15 days holiday before the end of the year, but my plan was to spend it elsewhere.
Pretty wise.
I might not be the best person to be on this committee, or at least I could join it halfway through or something. I also feel it will be completely new territory for me as being a town councillor, but no experience of the next level up. So I'd welcome as many of our old Mendip district councillors as possible, for instance, Councillor Henderson, Councillor McDougall, Councillor Cousins, who have been district councillors and must know a lot more about this territory. than I do.
Well said. Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Osborne?
Yeah, I was going to say what you just said, that there was only one of the districts that was actually in debt. When they pulled together the districts into a county or unitary authority, whatever they call it, the finances should have actually been quite healthy. And it's one of the things I'm quite proud of with this council, that we put forward a motion condemning the huge salary that they wanted to pay to the chief apparatchik, which is one of the reasons why, not the only one, but one of the reasons why Somerset is now in such a mess, along with their absurd plans for theatres in Yeovil Cultural Centre. But I would repeat what Councillor Cousins has said. We could be stitched up with this very easily, because I can see what they're playing at. They want to devolve it out to sort of the mug hunters down at parish level to take on board, so that we all end up standing on the zebra crossings holding the lollipops, because that's the way that they can save a few quid. And I think we should be very, very careful that we're not handed a poison chalice, because I think that's the sort of thing that's going on in Taunton right now.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. Councillor Henderson,
Just a quick one, Your Worship. I saw in another letter from Somerset Council, somewhere else on our emails, that the Kia have been given an 8-year contract to deal with the roads and the drainage, etc. But that presumably would be up for grabs if we went down the road of taking on transport. I suppose they would be devolved to the different units. So I mean, that's obviously one of the many details that would have to be thrashed out. And just reading through this letter, I can quite understand why our 2 county councillors have called in sick this evening.
Yeah, fabulous. I'll just say, so we're very lucky actually. A lot of the mayors, in fact there's a chair here of Street this evening, and there's a few of us have been getting together, mayors and chairs, that are obviously talking about this. So there will be some possibility for sort of cross work, burrowing and seeing what we can actually do together. Obviously. Exactly, and through the LCNs as well. So yeah, I take this as an opportunity. We did also, we've seen this coming in whatever form it would come. We knew something was coming. So yes, and through the resilience group, absolutely. Councillor Cook and then Councillor Smythe.
Yeah, there's opportunities to go. The open spaces is really, that is, it's not just a poison chalice. It's a massive machinery which is unfit for use, basically, because the way that the contracts are run at the moment, they're just machines that are hired, they're leased out, they're destroyed. They just don't, they hit rocks, they hit anything. So it doesn't matter. So what we don't want to be ending up doing, there is money to be made, not an awful lot, because it's all about maintenance. And the maintenance is pretty costly. You will never know until you actually get to it, until you actually have about 4 or 5 mowing machines, and they just don't cut anything. It's because they're chipped, broken, not serviced. They literally, I mean, guys have told me this, that they literally get on and just hammer, that's it, and get as much cut as they can. So, I mean, and I noticed that that it's either the responsibility is either through their own provision of service, our own provision of service potentially, or through contribution to Somerset County service costs. I mean, it is wanting it always, isn't it? It's not losing anything really. They're just taking money off it, just full stop. And then swimming pools, same thing. Street cleaning, fly tipping. And where did I read about transfers, maintenance of play areas and installation and maintenance of play equipment? I mean, we were only just talking about that last meeting, weren't we? A group of people came in and Abbey Park. Personally, I remember when those all that play equipment at Abbey Park was put in. Can't remember guys. But it's been in for quite a while, admittedly. But It's supposed to be serviced annually, or at least inspected annually.
No,
It still is. Yeah.
it is, yes, I've seen
So, I
it.
mean, I would imagine it's in pretty good service.
It should be, sorry, Your Worship, it should
Yeah,
be
thank
inspected
you.
weekly, actually, and then there's a formal.
It's the
Yeah.
Brilliant. Sorry, yes, sorry, Cook.
So there's a lot of things to be careful of.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Smythe and Councillor Rendell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move this agenda item on, as suggested by the clerk. This requires a small working group of perhaps 4 councillors and the mayor. I'd like councillors to volunteer to be on that group here at this meeting now. And if there's more than 4 councillors, then we take, as suggested by the clerk at the staff meeting, a secret ballot and move this forward, because details such as what we've heard are necessary to discuss within the small group, not at this meeting, which has a busy agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smythe. Yes, so we move to, 4 people, please. So far, we have Councillor Cousins, Councillor Manning, Councillor Henderson.
If Michael wants to go on, I'm quite...
No, put your hand up, Steve, because there's going to be more.
Okay, thank you.
And, yes, fantastic. Thank you very much.
I will, and so will LB.
Okay, so we've got more names now.
Michael White. Yeah.
I'm just aware that I'm missing papers. I'm seeing people reading stuff that I don't have on my laptop. And it could be that there were papers that were put out on the table that didn't get on my table.
So the item, are you looking on your laptop?
Yeah.
So it's, if you have a look in the folder that I sent the link round to, if you look at the item in that folder with the number 10 at the beginning that starts with the word issue.
I did, and it was only the letter on it.
If you keep it 6 pages, there's 3 pages of text and 3 pages of a table, and people have been referring to the table, which is actually the interesting.
Quiet, please, on the floor.
I haven't got those papers either, and they're not in the collection.
Right, we'll look at that when we come to it, if that's all right.
Yes, the next papers we've got is the, what have we got? No, we've got a bunch. Don't think we've got much more after. Can I just go back to these names, please? So Councillor Cousins, LB, were you?
I'm happy to.
Happy
With
to,
the proviso,
okay.
I might not be here.
Okay, fabulous. Councillor White.
Oh, yes.
Lindsay McDougall,
Chair.
myself, Councillor Manning, fantastic. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Point of order, Your
And with
Worship.
Henderson, yes.
If there is going to be a secret ballot, you do not actually need to be on the ballot, because you have the mayor's prerogative to attend any meeting.
Yep, no, that's really fine. Lucky me.
The deputy might as well.
How many have we got?
We've now got, I think, 6. Well, maybe we could actually put that for the deputy as well. Then you could be a... So, yes, sorry, Councillor Henderson.
Again, I'll say, with not wishing to drag this out longer than it needs to, I'm quite happy to step back, take my name off the list, and then the 5 that you've got are on the committee.
Okay, we're dragging Henderson, kicking and screaming.
Going on for a long time.
Fabulous. Okay, so now we are down to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then us 2 are floaters. We can just come in when we want.
Okay.
Yes, it's
So
4
that's-
plus mayor.
so
Is that okay? Are we happy with that? Fantastic.
Sorry, Your Worship, I was looking on my computer.
Yes.
Could I take those names?
Councillor Cousins, Councillor White, Councillor Manning, Councillor Lindsay McDougall, with us as floaters. Thank you very much. Can I ask you to arrange a date between yourselves?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah?
Yep.
Thank you so much. Oh,
Their time. Some of us just don't have that time. So yeah, thanks guys.
please, yes, let it be noted. There are so many committees. This will hopefully, though, be not an ongoing. It's almost like a task and finish. It's actually just the beginnings.
To report for the December meeting, basically.
Exactly. So it's not a never-ending.
Clarity.
Yes, please.
Am I allowed to sit and listen at those committee meetings?
Yes.
All councillors can attend a meeting. They're not a member of the committee.
Thank you very much.
Fabulous, and maybe even be consulted on when needed. Perfect, thank you very much. Great. Here's to great things.
Back to number 8.
Oh, yes, thank you very much for reminding me. So are you ready, Connor?
Item number 11.
Are you ready to go back to item number 8?
If you would like to, Your Worship.
External audit report.
So
Fabulous,
if you
before it
give
gets
me-
lost in the excitement.
Give me a second, Your Worship. I'll get the right bit of paper.
We're doing screens, okay. Is that Liz going out? Oh, too late. Thank you. It's where I go into James Bond mode.
This item this
Had enough.
evening is a formality, really, because the actual detail was considered at the additional full council meeting that we held toward the end of June. Well, I got the cable. The external auditors have written to us with their conclusion of the audit, which what we need to do this evening is to note that we've received it when it comes up on the screen. And then refer the actions to the Finance and General Purposes Committee.
Okay.
Luckily, you will all know the staffing committee resolved to purchase me a new laptop that hopefully will work better than this one. Though sometimes it's less the laptop and more the wire between the laptop and the
Mm-hmm.
Your Worship, it's just a point of clarity. We could also afford perhaps a new wire as well as a new laptop.
Sometimes it just decides that it does not want to play ball.
Yeah, I'm not sure we could reach for divine intervention all the time.
Essentially, Your Worship, I'll try and speak to it whilst the laptop tries to catch up with us. So the letter reads, the top part of it is just general. And then when it goes to the External Auditors Limited Assurance Opinion 2223, the letter states, except for the matters reported below, on the basis of our review of sections 1 and 2 of the Annual Governance and Accountability Return, the AGAR, which came to the additional meeting at the end of June, in our opinion, the information in sections 1 and 2 of the AGAR is in accordance with proper practices, and no matters have come to our attention giving cause for concern that relevant legislation and regulatory requirements have not been met. So that's them saying in a roundabout way, the council is run properly. What they have highlighted was that the AGAR hadn't been accurately completed before submission for review. I'll stop the screen flashing at all of you in a second. Because if you remember, as we discussed at the additional meeting at the end of June, there were items that the Town Council had purchased that had not gone onto the asset register. So that is where, in that box, there was about an £8,000 discrepancy between the value that we had on our asset register and the value that the external auditor, well, the internal auditor, found when they came to audit. There were, if you remember when we had that additional meeting, there were control objectives, and we had to tick whether we felt that the Town Council had fulfilled them or not. So in relation to control objectives C and H that we did not meet, which has been highlighted in this letter, we've already discussed the remedies to them. So control objective C and H, I don't know which way round they were, but between them they related to having an up-to-date asset register and also having a risk assessment of the large risks that face the council as a whole, not the small risks of an event or a session in the town hall, but the big risks. The Town Council has got a risk assessment, But the formality, the tick in the box, that it comes to a meeting during the council year for councillors to consider, we hadn't done that. I hadn't done it. I forgot. Didn't go on agenda, but the town council has one. So the remedies that were discussed by the additional full council meeting is that the asset register will be updated. That has been delegated to an officer and the responsible finance officer to make sure that everything's on there. And we have an ongoing process to make sure that purchases over £100 go on the asset register. You wouldn't say put a pedestal fan that you spend £20 on your asset register, but you'd put something that was over 100 on your asset register. So that's the process that has already been agreed to remedy that. That's the asset register. In terms of the risk assessment, in terms of updating it, the council agreed to purchase a piece of software specifically for this sector that makes that job a lot easier, more comprehensive. That piece of software is being updated at the moment, so the developers wouldn't sell it to me at this point because it only worked on very old laptops. They are updating it, and if I cannot purchase it before April, I will do it manually. If I can purchase it before April, that risk assessment will be coming to this council. So the council has already agreed those remedies. This is a tick box exercise that our external audit for 22-23 has been received and signed off. So unlike a large number of principal authorities in the country, we have a set of audited accounts and we don't run in a risky way. So what I am hoping that you will all agree to is to note that we have received the sign-off of the external auditor, and that Finance and General Purposes will receive an update from myself and the responsible finance officer as to an update on the remedies that were already discussed at the additional full council meeting at the end of June. Over to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Connor. Oh, yes, questions from the table. Sorry, I think it was Councillor Smythe and then Councillor Cousins.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question for the clerk. Are the assets that were purchased under the town deal part of our register? And then I have a second thing to ask.
Which assets are you, because that was before my time, is that, say, for instance, the planters? Yes.
And there was an auger purchased.
Okay, yes, all of that kind of machinery will be on the asset register, yes. Yes.
Are you for
if that's the will of council, to note that we've received it and that Finance and General Purposes at its next meeting will receive an update. That's what I'm asking for.
Fabulous. We have a second here. Can we, Councillor Cousins?
Unless the Deputy Mayor's already seconded it, I will second that. Two questions. One is HDMI 1 the correct input?
Yes.
Secondly, has any part of an updated asset register been circulated to councillors? And could you, if not, I have some very old copies from when I was first on the council with Councillor Henderson here. Doesn't seem that long ago, but some of the assets that I've got on a register at my house don't appear to be on the current register. So I would be interested to talk to the officers who are looking at it to help share that information.
Yeah, if you could share that, Councillor Cousins. It's Scarlett and Jane working on it.
Thank you.
So if you could either send them a copy or have a phone conversation or just come in and speak with them, that would be very much appreciated.
Fabulous, thank you very much. So that was moved and seconded. Thank you very much. LB seconded. Can we vote? Note to receive. All those in favour? Fabulous.
Unanimous.
That is unanimous. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Connor.
Yes, I apologise about the projector.
Oh, it just spices up the meeting. It's great. Thank you. Moving on to item 11, consider changing the date of the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting. So please have your diaries.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, is it work? The Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting on the calendar of meetings was organised for the 21st of December. However, it was agreed to move it to the 20th of December because the 21st is solstice and councillors didn't wish to meet on that date. However, now, since then, An additional screening of Avalon of the Heart has been scheduled for that evening, the 20th of December, in the main hall, which meant that councillors would have to make a decision whether they wish to attend that or attend the Finance and General Purposes meeting. And the Finance and General Purposes meeting is probably one of the most important meetings of the council year because we consider next year's budget. I didn't really want to put councillors through that if I didn't have to. So my suggestion is that it's moved to Monday, the 18th of October.
October? December. Fabulous. Gosh. See, we are awake
Back in
still.
time. I'm talented. I'm not quite that talented.
Fabulous. Sorry, let's have just Councillor Cousins, Councillor White, but then if we can just go for a date, that would be wonderful.
Did I hear the clerk say that Avalon the Heart is being screened on the 20th of December and you can buy your tickets for £5 from the information centre? Did I hear him say that? Because
yes, you did.
To reiterate that it is being screened again, Avalon of the Heart, on the 20th of December at 7 o'clock, and you can buy your tickets from the information centre for £5.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cousins. That is now gone out live streamed. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Councillor White.
So I would like to propose that Finance and General Purposes is on Monday, the 18th of December at 7 p.m. in the Council Chamber.
Seconded.
Perfect. All those in favour? Fabulous. That is unanimous, I believe. Yes? No, that wasn't unanimous.
Mondays. I do yoga on Mondays.
That's fine, but you don't mind it being changed? I'm not saying that. Yeah, no, that's great. Perfect. That's fabulous. I actually already had it. Thank you very much, Councillor Rowan. I already had it in my notes. So woo. Thank you very much. Moving on. No, great.
Right, can I check?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Just catching up. Councillor White proposed it. Who seconded?
LB.
LB. Thank you. Item number 12, to consider a request to support a proposed reduction in the speed limit on a stretch of the A39 between Glastonbury and Wells. So this was brought up at the last meeting to be voted on, I believe, at this meeting. Do we need a proposer?
Yeah.
Perfect. Councillor Ronan Dougal proposes. Do we have a seconder? Would anybody like to? Fabulous. Councillor Lindsay is a seconder. Yes, Councillor Manning.
I just ask for what we're actually voting on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to propose it.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought we discussed it last week.
So this came up as part of the cycleway between Glastonbury and Wells and how dangerous it is on that particular stretch of road, whereas if you know it goes round those bends. And so the request is that it's between Polsham Junction and Southway. So that section of the road, for there to be a speed reduction to 30 miles an hour at that particular bit, because it's an incredibly dangerous section of road. And we've already had Melissa talking today, asking about the fact that next week is speed reduction week, or whatever it was that she said it was, speed awareness. And so this is something that has come up from Susanna, who's very concerned with active travel and enabling cyclists and pedestrians to be safer. And that is why this has come to this particular council.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Smythe, and then Councillor Manning.
This is a letter.
This is a letter.
The council's going to write to Highways.
Yes, a letter of support for is what is being requested.
A letter of request, surely.
Yes, a letter of support for the request.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Manning.
My question is, again, following on from that, am I right in thinking that it's actually extending the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit from Cokesley further along, or is it actually going to go up to 60 and then down to 30?
I read what was given to me, and I didn't look at a map.
That's really fine.
So in my mind, I'm trying to think where Polsham Junction to Southway is, but it's
Lindsay,
actually,
do you know
Polsham
the answer
Junction
to this?
is this side of Cokesley,
Yeah.
and it's all the way through to Wells.
Thank you, Councillor. Lindsay has an answer to that. If you'd like to reply.
Well, actually, I'm not aware of any map, but it's just that S-bend. And I think it might be a good idea to say, well, it might be a good idea to have a bit of pavement there if it's at all possible.
in the same letter. I mean, we're not going to achieve that so easily, but I think that was one of Susanna's intentions, and I think that's a very good idea, but not so easy to achieve.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I fully support this. I think it's a really good idea. It is a dodgy piece of road. It is outside our boundary. So, I mean, we may be limited in what, we can support it, but we might not be in a position to request it. I don't know who the, might be Colsham Parish Council or whatever. And with regard to a pavement, which is desperately needed, is there any mileage or is there any history of pavements being on the farmer's land inside the hedge? Is that a possibility? I don't know if that's done or whether it's possible.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Cook and then Councillor Cousins.
Yeah, Lindsay, that's the third time I've heard this S-bend, but I still can't place where this is exactly without a map.
Where the Camelot used to be.
Where the Camelot was, yeah. As old as I am.
Good old days.
Is that where it is? From the pub?
Yes, that's right.
North to Wells? Yeah, okay, got it.
Is that all right? Thank you. Councillor Cousins?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I was going to make the same point as Councillor Henderson. We can't make a letter of request, it's outside of our jurisdiction, but it is a letter of support. I imagine it's St Cuthbert's who are going to make the application. I think that it's worthwhile. Their multi-user pathways can be put inside of hedges, but it has to be with the agreement of the landowner. We have one such at Herbie's Field, if you will. But the maintenance of those is down to the landowner. So that's a problem there, but it's possible.
Thank you, Councillor Cousins. Last point, please. Thank you, Councillor Smythe.
Last point, I'd just like to take up Councillor Manning's observation that it would in fact be an extension of the 30-mile limit south or west of Cokesley. Otherwise, you'd end up with like 200 or 300 yards of a 60 mile in between two 30 miles. So it is an extension of that 30-mile limit, Glastonbury side of Cokesley.
Are you disagreeing, Councillor? Okay. Is it possible that a letter is written and that we see the letter? Because I'm not sure we actually all have the same stretch of road or limits in our minds. Would that be acceptable? Councillor Cousins.
Just a point of clarity. I think that regardless of exactly where this stretch of road is, if the parish council or successor parish of the area feels that it's worthy and is asking us for a letter of support, I think we should just give them a letter of support.
Yeah.
Fabulous. That sounds like proposals. We did have a second, didn't we?
Yes, me.
Yeah, excellent. So if we can go, please to vote. All in favour of supplying a letter of support. Fantastic. Unanimous. Thank you very much, councillors. Item 13, to note the resolutions of delegated committees. Have we all?
No, Your Worship, they weren't in the file. I had the administration officer suffered she did herself, an IT failure during the week. So this report had to be rewritten, and I'm going to earnestly try and project it. But if not, I will read out the recommendations, because the other resolutions you only know you can't do anything about. Not you, council.
Perfect.
So if I have to read them out,
Thank you,
shall
Connor.
do, but I'm going to try. I've restarted my computer in case it was an issue with my computer, which is very likely. And we're going to see if I can get it to work this time. They say don't work with children, don't work with animals. I say don't work with IT. I fear it's not going to. No. So, I'm going to do
Mercury in retrograde.
I'm going to speak to what specifically was a recommendation that this council has to consider. The other resolutions I will circulate by email.
Okay, thank you.
So the planning committee obviously made no recommendations. It made decisions on the items that were on its agenda.
Yep.
Now my computer's not letting me scroll through the
Wow. There's a gremlin.
If I may, so you've got something to talk about while I try and fix this.
Okay.
There was a recommendation from the youth committee.
Wonderful.
Which was to consider having a knife bin installed in St Dunstan's car park. at the request of the police. I have previously met with the police, and the reason it hadn't been done or hasn't been done is because there's no CCTV coverage of where would be appropriate in the car park. However, more than happy for members to consider that recommendation and to ask me any questions.
Shall I say a word about
Yes,
that?
please.
I chaired the Youth Provision Committee, and at the last meeting, which was wonderful, we invited Penny Hall, who did the knife crime stuff and the drug bus and Lost Projects people. It really was a fascinating meeting. The knife, so Penny Hall was great because she sort of explained how much of an issue or not knife crime is in our local area. So I said, would the provision of an amnesty bin work for the police? And it would. It has to go on a wall and it has to have CCTV coverage. Now, my feeling is that it's more for deposits are anonymous, but we're trying to prevent withdrawals. But having a CCTV camera there might help us further down the road with some other things like car parking. But just as a thought, but it has to go on a wall. The police would be happy to do it, but it's really just it was a good discussion at youth, and it was something that has some merit.
Thank you very much. It's nothing we need to vote on now, is it? Fantastic. I'm so glad about that. Wonderful. Thank you.
So, is that recommendation accepted, refused?
Yes, Councillor Cousins.
I propose that this council accepts the recommendation.
Thank you very much.
I need a second here.
Need a seconder, please. Who would like to second it?
Knife bin.
The knife bin. Yes, fantastic. Seconded.
Move to vote, Chair.
Move to vote. All in favour? Thank you very much. Unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you, Worship. I'm just trying to check.
Lovely. That was
Much
seconded
to
by
the
Zoe
dismay
Grace.
of this laptop, if there are any other recommendations, I believe that was the only one from a delegated committee. All of the others from planning, property and assets, staffing, and the rest of the decisions from the youth committee and the A361 committee were decisions or for finance and general purposes in respect of the youth provision committee budget. So there's no other recommendations for full council, and I will circulate that report to councillors if my computer lets me tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Doing us a favour.
I'm going to try and get now the recommendations from advisory committees. There are a number of them, but again, my laptop's not letting me access my own files.
This is the old one, isn't it? That you haven't got a new one yet.
No, I haven't got a new one yet. I'll order one after this meeting.
Yeah, really.
Throw this one out the window. Well, yes. I'll do it on my phone, Councillor Henderson. By any chance, Your Worship, move on to some of the other items where councillors can speak to it and come back to me in a second.
That's great, except it's...
I'm happy to speak to the Climate Emergency Advisory Committee.
Lovely. Perfect. Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, and that
McDougall.
maybe sorted out while
Thank
I do
you.
that. So there were the two things that came from there, and one's already been dealt with, and that's the letter of support for the A39 speed reduction, and we've already done that. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who attended for the litter picking. We actually had, I think, 7 or 8 people, and then a 9th person turned up a bit late because I'd put the wrong time out on Glastonbury notice board. But we did a very good litter pick, and I think there were 2 or 3 councillors as well as other people. So that felt very positive. Thank you, everybody who did that. The other thank you, before I go to the recommendation, is for the people who've been doing the distributing of the leaflet for the energy bill reduction. We got 4,000 leaflets printed by St Andrew's Press in Wales, and I think they've done a really nice job. I think the leaflet looks excellent, And I'm really grateful to them because they were incredibly helpful. They did it on recycled paper. It's nice silk finish, as they call it. It's a good weight, it looks good, and they charged the least price of any of the quotes that I got.
Got one here.
So I really recommend St Andrews and thank them. I also want to thank Sunlit Solar, who have paid for it. So sponsored by Sunlit Solar, we haven't had to spend a penny on this. And I also want to thank all 18 people who have either offered to distribute it or have already done their leaflet round, because all 4,000 are now accounted for.
Perfect.
Sadly, we should have had 4,200 because we can't do the new Kingsfield estate, and there's the whole Feversham Lane area that is having to be missed because 4,000 is no longer enough for Glastonbury. More houses have come. We needed more, but the 4,000 are going up there, so that feels really, really good. And thanks to everybody. So the next recommendation from the Climate Emergency Group is for cafes and other outlets in town to have reusable cups, either on deposit or for sale. Now, we got given this, which is from Ireland, Killarney, which is the first town in Ireland which is to do this. Now, rather than them giving out a paper cup for people to take away, you actually pay a deposit on your cup, which you can then give back and get your deposit back, or you can keep it. So it's a £2 deposit. So in other words, is that the mass market, not very high quality, £2 cups, which you either take away with you or you can return and get your money back. Now, we could actually use this and have a made in Glastonbury cup, which all the cafes and other outlets sell, which would advertise Glastonbury, and they could be these deposit cups as well, so that we stop all the paper cup waste that is going on. I mean, most of the litter picking was actually picking up these disposable stuff, as well as the fact it was actually after the zombie walk. So there was quite a lot of alcohol related stuff that we picked up as well. But but in general, it's the paper cups that are being picked up, particularly stuff like Costa. So this is a recommendation that we follow the lead that is already there, and maybe advertise Glastonbury through our cafes and other outlets with a Glastonbury cup.
Fantastic. I've got a question. And yes, also the top's plastic as well. What would they be made of?
That's a detail.
That is yet to be. Okay. All right. So thank you. I've got Councillor Osborne, Councillor Manning.
So I think the idea of the Glastonbury cup is absolutely brilliant, and it would be a nice cheap souvenir for people to take with them.
Yes.
I reckon you could do more than £2. I reckon £3 people would buy it to take with them and say, look, I bought this in Glastonbury.
The reason £2 was that's what they're doing in Killarney.
It's things are more.
Sorry, can we just go around the table, please, rather than going into. Yes, a response.
When I went to a very lovely storytelling festival in Wales, when we booked in and put our ticket, they sold us a little plastic cup which advertised the festival and which I still have with me. And I got a discount at every single stall that I went and bought coffee from because I had bought one of these cups. Now, this is slightly different because your outlet here, people having a deposit, they either get their money back or they keep their mug. We would have to, in some way, supply all the outlets to make sure it's a made in Glastonbury or a Glastonbury type cup. So it's a project that needs some thought, but it's just to get the idea of it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Duke. Councillor Manning.
Just to say that Laura Sorensen from the SEAT committee had a meeting yesterday with Street and Glastonbury Chamber of Commerce, and they were very enthused by the idea.
Brilliant.
There are a number of options though, because there's about 7 different types of scheme that can have. So there's going to be some work done on looking into that. But
Great.
fully endorse what Councillor Osborne said and yourself, that yes, we like the idea of these cups because it's phenomenal. The number is something like 80 billion a year go into landfill, which is, and they don't actually biodegrade as well. That's the other thing.
No, they don't. Thank you very much. So can we move for, are you moving to support?
I was just going to say that I very much value the 3 green gathering cups that I've returned from last year, and I'll use them again next year. It works very well.
Perfect, thank you. Do we have any more comments, or can we go to call for recommendation?
I'm proposing.
Yep, anyone seconding?
We support this recommendation.
Lovely.
That we ask the cafes and other outlets to use either deposit or for sale cups for their coffee and lunch.
That's great.
How does that sound?
Is the recommendation, though, to look into it? Yes, to recommend it. That we support it. Fabulous. And seconded by Councillor Osborne. Fantastic, thank you. Move to vote.
Sorry, Your Worship, could I just check?
Yes.
That the role that the Town Council is playing in this recommendation being accepted is that the SEAC group is looking into it?
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Sorry, it's a recommendation that came from the SEAC group. Sorry, all move to vote then in,
I was just wondering whether the SEAC group would then talk to the Chamber of Commerce so that you didn't have...
Yes, they are. Yeah, Laura's in the Chamber of Commerce. Laura's in the SEAC group who's talking to the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, all moving. Thank you very much. Move to vote. All in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. We are a happy table today. Thank you very much. Any more recommendations that we can actually put forward?
That, if I may. So the second recommendation from the SEAC group has actually been covered in the previous agenda item. That was that we support the calling for a reduced speed limit on a section of the A39.
Perfect.
So the third recommendation was, the recommendation itself was proposed by Councillor Roni Dougal and seconded by another member of the SEAC group, who's not a councillor. Glastonbury Town Council make and put up on bus stops and online permanent versions of the map made by volunteers showing where to catch buses when the high street is closed.
Perfect.
So yeah, this was another one of Susanna's. She's relentless, Susanna, but we tried to keep up with her. And quite often the high street is closed, as we know. You know, zombie walks or processions for Remembrance Day or whatever it might be. In which case, buses have to go an alternate route. And people come to the bus stop here outside the town hall, and there's no buses. And they don't have any information to let them know where they can get the bus while the high street is closed. And so the recommendation is that there is a notice put up. It's only these two and the ones at the top of the high street that need it. So it's 4 bus stops that need it, informing people of the route that the bus is taking and where the nearest stops are, so that people, it's just a little piece of information. But it would really help a lot of people who get lost on days when the high street is closed.
Thank you, Councillor Dougal. Yes, Councillor Cousins.
I think this is an excellent recommendation. I feel that the council should be proactive in making it happen, because I think it is absolutely essential to so many people who use the buses. And whether or not that is part of the recommendation, I would suggest that this council actually moves forward in working with the SEAC group to make these things happen and put them into the bus shelters.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure how we can help as a council, but I'm sure we will if there are avenues.
We could pay for them.
Oh, thank you. Okay, fine. Right, budgetary speaking. Okay, fabulous. Thank you. So that was a proposal. Do we have a seconder?
That we put notices in the bus stops to inform people where the nearest stops are when the high street is closed. And I don't think it would cost us very much.
No.
And we could take it out of the SEAC budget, I expect. But if the council want to pay for it, then that would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a seconder, please? Thank you very much. Ian Much seconded. All in favour? Unanimous. Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you to the SEAC group for taking us forward.
May, Your Worship.
Yep.
There was a recommendation to full council from the Arts, Culture and Events Advisory Committee, which is now out of date and is really just a formality. I'll speak to that why. The recommendation that was proposed by Councillor Smythe was that the Town Council hold a second film screening of Avalon of the Heart in the main hall on Thursday, the 6th of December, 2023 at 7 p.m. That was seconded by yourself, Your Worship, and resolved unanimously as a recommendation. Now, if I may, the reason it's not on the 6th of December is because that was actually a diary clash. We've now moved to an online diary, which means that that shouldn't be happening again.
So
however,
exciting.
that was a clash. So in order to get the date in the diary, I did book it in with Scarlett for the 20th of December, which was a free evening. Now, the reason that that was done in advance of this meeting is because if we didn't, it would have been snapped up. So really, it's just a formality that full council has to okay the film screening happening on the 20th. So if someone could propose that's the case and someone could second, you know.
Fabulous. Councillor Cousins?
I would like to propose that we accept the formality recommendation and note that tickets are on sale in the information centre for £5 for the screening at 7 o'clock on the 20th of December in the Town Hall of Avalon of the Heart.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cousins. Do we have a seconder? Thank you very much. Councillor Price, seconds. All in favour of it going ahead on the 20th and changing? Thank you very much. Is that Councillor Ronnie McDougall? Yeah. Thank you very much. We are unanimous again. Thank you for taking the initiative.
There weren't any additional recommendations from any of the advisory committees. For this committee, there were a number for finance and general purposes. As I say, I'll circulate this afterward, and anything going to finance and general purposes will be going to finance and general purposes. And I can only apologise on behalf of my laptop, but at the next full council meeting, it won't be this one.
That's really fine. We voted no confidence in your laptop, and it will be replaced. Thank you very much. Any more? Thank you. Let's go on to then. Oh, have we had unitary council report? I think I did see something in my inbox.
It arrived in the inbox. I
did, didn't
read
it? I haven't
I
either.
saw it this afternoon.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, Councillor.
It arrived in the inbox and I did read it this afternoon.
Thank you.
And I had one, let's say, a little upset in that they talked about the In Bloom Awards for Somerset and Glastonbury was not mentioned.
You are kidding me. How could that?
We had 3 cups and we had loads of other first and seconds and all the rest of it. Not a single mention.
Okay, then that did not go out as much as we wanted. We won, Glastonbury won more awards and more cups than any other town in the entirety of the Southwest.
Not a single mention.
Yeah, if I may, Your Worship, I did pick this up at the. I'm upset again that it's come out this late again.
Yes.
But I did actually pick it up with Somerset Council because the day either of or a day after the Southwest in Bloom Awards evening down in Truro, Somerset Council did put out a press release hailing each entrant in Somerset, so they thought. They did miss out Glastonbury and they did actually miss out a number of other places. Now, as you can imagine, the committee clerk was rather upset after seeing that. I was rather upset after seeing that. And I imagine any councillor that saw that or any volunteer for In Bloom would have been very upset at that. So that day I emailed the communications lead for parishes and towns between Somerset Council and us. Essentially, it was a bit of a grovelling apology and this won't happen again. And the communications team were asked to check before they issue anything in future that they have all of the information. Essentially what happened was the pattern was that it was parishes and towns in Mendip, former Mendip, that got missed. Because Mendip District Council was never that interested in what its towns and parishes were doing. We didn't have that direct link, whereas there were other former districts that their comms people were much more engaged with their towns and parishes as to what they were doing. So They already knew what other areas in Somerset were doing. They didn't know what we were doing. And also they didn't ask through this communications lead for towns and parishes if anyone else had entered. They essentially just sent out a press release the next day rather reactively, and it was incorrect. So I did receive an apology. They did assure me it wouldn't happen again. And that lead communications officer has now said if we have anything that we would like Somerset Council to promote, then we put it straight to her and she sends it through to the team. So there was an apology and the online article was amended and it was changed before it went out to the print press. So it is a shame that it's now come out again in the unitary councillor reports, but they must have had an out-of-date version. But what went out to the press from Somerset Council was correct. Perfect. What went out online was corrected the next day. And what we put out was obviously correct in saying that Glastonbury is the best town in the whole of the country.
Thank you so much. Connor, oh my God, we are vindicated. Woo.
17 awards, I believe.
17 awards, fantastic. And good riddance to Mendip and it's not
and anyone who wishes can view our 3 trophies in the trophy cabinet in the foyer.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think do we feel a little bit better about that? Perfect. So any more from unitary councillor reports? Who has seen them? If not,
yes, sorry, they were circulated today. I received them both from Councillor Cottle and Hart today. I circulated them as soon as I could.
And are they either difference? All right, fabulous. Then I move on then to item number 16. Thank you very much. Receive verbal updates representatives from outside bodies. Thank you. I think Councillor White just got ahead of you.
Oh, thank you. So Town Deal, some of you will have noticed that the Abbey Gate, the piazza, is well in progress. The temporary entrance is the porter cabin just by Abbott's Kitchen. So that's been since the last few days. The farm, they got their planning permission. And so they're quite delighted, and so they're now, it's a bit wet down there, but they've got caravans in place for the volunteers and the staff. They put a nice little sort of laid track and turning area across so vehicles can go onto that. Wayne, who you probably know, has just built some steps and a sort of a sheltered area between 2 of the caravans. The Bailey's is progressing. Bride's Mound, you've got your planning permission there?
Haven't yet got the planning permission, but we have got return from the tenders for building the roundhouse, which we are looking at, which is a real nice step.
Thank you. Yeah. So the farm, in their planning approval, it's changed from just being a farm to a farm and an educational facility. Genius. And so that's great. St Dunstan's House, we're well on the way with that. We'll have some news for that at the next meeting, I think, at the December meeting. Enterprise, that's that sort of strange little Somerset Council place near where the ambulance was on Beckery New Road. I'm sort of hearing 2 different things. Is it going to happen or is it not? So the building is empty. I expect at the Town Deal meeting on the 1st of December, we'll learn about that, because one concern had been if any money from that was rather than being returned to central government, would be distributed around the other projects. So that's why it's an important... Yes, Steve?
Sorry to interrupt. Is that project run by Somerset Council?
Yeah, it's one of the... There's a number of enterprise and resource centres around the country. The building is empty, so the people moved out of it, and we're sort of waiting to hear what's happening within the Town Deal part of it. Building C is going on pretty well. Yeah, and nothing on the enabling project, other than that the field isn't as good as I thought it initially was. And so maybe something will happen or not. But again, I'm like in the dark on that. But that's pretty much where we're at. So St Dunstan's House, a big thank you to our town clerk for sending a very stern email to the programme officer at Somerset Council for the Town Deal, saying, we've got planning permission, but we don't have listed building consent. please sort it out. By the end of that day, they said, you'll get it.
Fantastic.
Probably this week. But big thank you for that, Connor.
Perfect. Yeah, note big thanks to our clerk, Connor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor McDougall, do you have?
So, yeah, I'm just reporting back on the LCN.
Oh, yes.
And I noticed that our deputy chair is here and might be able to tell us where it's going to be. The meeting is going to be on the 27th of November. And we're going to be talking about active travel and public transport. And there will be a talk about the highways pilot that Exmoor and West Somerset LCN carried out. So that's a bit more information about the next LCN meeting.
Thank you very much. Will this one be Zoomed as well? Can people, I think the first one was, but yes, sorry.
Yes, they do tend to be hybrid meetings, Your Worship.
Fantastic. Do we have a place yet, Chair of Street?
Well, let me get back to that.
Thank you very much. Yes, oh, sorry, Councillor Cousins, then Deputy.
So in my role as president of the Forget Me Not Club, I attended a business meeting of the club today, and the club would like to formally extend an invitation to you, Your Worship, to attend our Christmas dinner, which in the time-honoured tradition of Forget Me Not Club has to coincide with the December meeting of this council.
Fantastic.
So I would hope that you'll be able to join us and that the esteemed Deputy Mayor will be able to take over the chairing of the meeting whilst you enjoy your repast with us.
Fantastic. This is why I became mayor, for this exact reason. And I have already lined up LB with the dates. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And very happily received. Yes, Councillor Ronnie McDougall.
With regard to St Edmund's Hall and the proposed Julian House project, I've actually been approached by residents in Windmill Home Estate who are actually very upset about it. And I just wanted, I know that we supported the idea of the project going ahead or at least being considered, but there are some people who feel it's really inappropriate place. And these are people who either have children and grandchildren or themselves have been homeless or themselves have suffered abuse and are frightened, actually. That's what I got from people who've spoken. There's a fear there.
Okay.
And so if we do support the project going ahead, we really need to address the fact that there are vulnerable people who live on that estate and who are frightened.
Excellent, thank you. May I just reply with, are there channels with Julian House so that these, because it's, I don't know if there's any way coming through us that we can alleviate any fears, but is there a channel to Julian House so that they can talk to them? I don't think we can. Lovely.
And I said to go to that consultation, but they felt nervous and frightened. They didn't feel capable of actually doing it, but I really tried to encourage them to do that. So it might be a good idea if we could find some other form of conversation that could happen, that their fears could be addressed.
Of course, yes, we do want this to go right. Sorry, Councillor Lokabandu and then Councillor Cook and then Councillor Osborne.
So the third consultation happened on Saturday, a couple of days ago, and I went to it, and they said only 4 people had turned up the whole afternoon. I went at the end of the day deliberately. So I don't think they advertised it hardly at all, anyway. But the 4 people were fairly positive. That's my little update on it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cook?
Yeah, I've kind of taken that on as a project because I went up to the second meeting. The first meeting was for 2 hours. Nobody could go because they're all working or whatever. And the second one was, well, it was very misleading. I found the whole presentation very misleading. Drawing not showing what the proximity of the hall itself to the Julian houses. And they've only just, literally last week, published the planning drawings they had submitted back in July, I think it was, the first set of drawings. So this has been known about for quite a while. Now, I'm not too sure if the trustees who are for Glastonbury councillors have been kept in the frame on this at all. So I've kind of taken it on because I'm pretty sure that I'm not sure what the position is with your ability to either oppose it or recommend it. So I've taken it on board and I've put that in quite a lot of writing on the Windmill Hills page. So there is a lot of people now aware of several things that don't stack up to me with this application at all. And it's, you know, sounds like a, you know, a land grab back from Somerset. Who knows what the plan is, but it's certainly not a suitable development there for the particular people they're describing, there's no problem. It's the other problems with like the dust hole, which is where they come from, this particular group in Shepton, which has been a lot of police activities there, etc. And you don't want that here up there on Windmill Hill. There's a lot of usage of it now. It's just had £50,000, I think it was, John, wasn't it? £50,000 refurbishment about a year ago, not so just long ago. So it's being used quite a considerable amount from all the conversations I've had with people up there. So the point is where we're at now is that there's no planning application been submitted yet. I'm on it every day looking for it because they said that it had to be in by a certain date in November. Well, I'm sure that's either passed or won't happen. Hopefully it won't happen. But there is a lot of people aware of what's going on up there and they're not happy. So they will resist it, and they've, you know, told everybody, right, as soon as an application goes in, then get a list out of people who are dead against it. Why? I'll help you with that, all the reasons, etc., and the planning rules, and then submit that as an objection. And hopefully, fingers crossed.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Osborne, Councillor Cousins, and then Councillor Mudge.
I hate to say it, but I think the whole thing is really disingenuous about what's going on up there. They came to the meeting last time, and I mean, I only knew about it because Rick had seen it on Facebook, been along to one of the meetings. And I know that they hadn't told the councillors who were trustees. And I also know that Somerset Council is in trouble because they haven't built enough houses. And there's a bunch of stuff going on around that. And I can't help feeling, and perhaps it's just because I'm cynical, but that's what a lot of this is about. And also the fact that it was brought to us in a way, none of us want to say we don't like homeless people and we don't want to house them. I mean, you know, I've taken enough flack for being a Conservative, so I'm quite used to, you know, I don't mind saying things like that in public. But that's really what they did was cornered us so that if we objected, that's what it sounded like we were saying. And when I reflected on it, when I went home, I thought, this isn't right. This isn't the feeling of this council. At least I don't think it really is. And what they're going to do is bung 4 random people in some very nice housing up there that will actually not be great for them, because if they are people who've got the kind of issues they were suggesting, they're going to be abandoned on the top of a hill with one little shop. But if they want to get to Aldi, they're going to have to either grab a car or go get a taxi. It's not real, it's not realistic, the whole thing. And I think we've been bounced into supporting it in some way. And I know we can't go back on things we voted on, but I really do feel quite, I just don't think it's a good idea, to be perfectly honest.
Thank you. Councillor Cousins, and then...
Thank you. As Chair of St Edmunds Ward Community Hall, which I need to say as a declaration of interest, I personally am completely opposed to the development in the car park of the hall. I feel that it's absolutely right that modular homes should be provided for people, but I think that is exactly the wrong place to put them. I feel that, as much as you've said, Councillor Osborne, that when I voiced my objection quite strongly to the first consultation meeting at the hall, I was then reported on by the Somerset officer as being completely against travellers and people who were homeless and all that sort of thing. That was reported back by officers to members, who then said, "Are you sure you were talking to Councillor Cousins?" Because that is the furthest from the truth, but this is the wrong place. And so being framed in that way by the officers is absolutely disingenuous, as you say. And obviously this council can't re-vote on it for 6 months. So we've nailed our colours to the mast saying that we support it as a council. But I'm hoping that the St Edmunds Community Board Trustees letter, which is not of exactly the same opinion as this council, will be written and sent to the consultation. The other thing that I've noticed is that these consultations are held during the day when many people are working, and they really should be holding some evening meetings, and they need to be putting up posters or leafleting properly around the estate up there, which they haven't done, I don't think, apart from the very first meeting, which was leafleted like a day or two before the meeting happened. This is totally what they call tokenistic consultation. It's on anyone who knows the ladder of participation, this is tokenistic, and it is an insult to the community up there. And when I tried to explain to Julian House and the county officers that the community would be nervous and upset about it, they felt that I was saying that our community was in some way bigoted, and I'm saying, no, this is about their hall. This is a community hall that was actually built with money raised from the community, and that car park is there. It was originally land that was owned by this borough. That car park then went to Mendip as part of the 1973 agreement with we didn't get that, and same way we lost parts of everything. And now Somerset County Council, when I said to the officer that I was opposed against it, the officer said it's Somerset land and we can do what we like.
Thank you, Councillor Cousins. Councillor Price, then Councillor Henderson.
Thank you. Councillor Much.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Much, then Councillor Henderson.
I remember this conversation. I remember being swayed by somebody, it might have been the Deputy Mayor, saying that there's never a right place. And I've read any story in a newspaper or online about an application to put disadvantaged people in any given environment close to other people. It's never, ever right. And I think I was a bit swayed to support it because of that sort of general interpretation of these sort of situations. And it was only, I think, 4 separate units, wasn't it, with yes. One person in each. So we're talking about a very small number of people. And I seem to recall that there was some degree of observation of the people. I'm not sure if that was somebody who would be on site with them. Continue. It was.
No, not with them. But
then was it observation via CCTV or something?
No, it was a phone call away.
That's what it was. Oh, right. But that they had some kind of connection with whoever runs the scheme. And I remember it was those factors that sort of led me a little bit. Also, the issue of the car park. I think somebody said that car park is never full. It's underused a lot. And I'm only, because I'm not closely familiar with the immediate neighbourhood, I've been up there, but I'm a bit swayed by those factors, really. And the fact that will there ever be a right place to put any facility like this? And my guess is no. And therefore there has to be a point when you say, well, let's sort of suck it and see. And that was kind of where I ended up on this one.
Thank you, Councillor Much. I think that was very much at the end. If it didn't work, the modules can be picked up and put somewhere else. That was stated. We've got Councillor Henderson, then maybe we could, because there's not much really we can do about this right now.
I think the only thing I've got to say is, if I remember rightly, the people that were going to inhabit these units had been through a lot of rehabilitation, and it wasn't just like somebody being picked off the street and put into a house. It was people that were sort of deemed to be ready to integrate back into society. So I think, as Serena said, being afraid up there, we would like to think that's been mitigated by the process that the people living there have been through. Presumably this will come to planning, will it? So
Yes.
no matter what this council has decided as a council, presumably the planning committee could have a different view. So I think we should make our, having looked at it from a planning point of view, we have decided thus, yay or nay.
Thank you. Can I let Councillor Manning, and then I think we need to just move forward with this. Thank you. Or just...
Some councillors would be, I think, but maybe not all. I don't know.
Is this a
point of order?
Yeah.
So I think that we would need to seek advice from SALC on this council formally supporting it, and then through planning opposing it. I think we would possibly need to seek advice.
Good idea.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cousin. Can we leave it there? Oh, yes.
Sorry, if I may. The council supported the project. The planning committee might not necessarily support the final plans of how the units are laid out or how much parking is or isn't provided. It will have to work through its list of material considerations and consider if it feels that it's if there's anything that they could object to. But the fact that the town council supports the project doesn't mean that the planning committee necessarily has to support exactly how it is laid out and going to occupy that piece of land. As I say, it will have to work through its list of material considerations because that's the basis on which it could object. But
or approve.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Just wasn't getting that vibe from the room, Councillor Anderson. Just wanted to clarify that yes, supporting the project doesn't mean that the planning committee has to support the plans.
Thank you. Is this
point
desperate?
Of order. Well, just
Yes.
a point of order, because I am, as the chair, I won't be able to contribute to the planning meeting, but I would like to point out that the proposal reduces the amount of car parking available is a material consideration.
Fabulous. Thank you very, very much. A very useful
And
debate.
all councillors can comment either way as members of the public as they wish to the application.
Thank you.
Every application.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Cook, you did actually speak for 3 minutes on this subject.
To clarify the position with the planning application.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, the planning application has not been submitted yet, but I will be acting with my considerable experience in planning, and particularly.
Okay, this
I
isn't
don't know
actually.
how this
Sorry,
application.
Councillor Cook, this isn't actually.
There's only four parking spaces available now, out of 25.
Thank
so
you.
It's
I think
literally
this
that.
is point of order. Sorry, Councillor Cook.
And then they will then amass their troops, and there'll be considerable amount of signatories.
Relevant.
And not as a councillor.
Councillor Cook, that wasn't a thingy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
So moving on. So any more verbal updates from representatives outside bodies? Fantastic. Then we move to Mayor's announcements. I would just basically like to say thank you to councillors for your vote of confidence for this evening. I'm sorry to have basically dragged this through, but as I think LB said, you did vote in an activist, and I stand for things, and I will continue to stand for things, and I think those are the things, rather than the actual way I said it, it's what I say. So hopefully this will be the end of it. And I just suggest that anything else that comes in gets taken to another authority, basically a higher authority. Because this is taking up all our time and all my time. So thank you very much for everyone. So correspondence, communications and announcements.
If I may, Your Worship, I have two. First of all, councillors, your immediate family / guests on the evening of Carnival can use this room.
Oh, yes.
That's the first one. The second one, the Somerset Association of Local Councils is holding its annual general meeting on the 2nd of December. And I'm hoping that I cannot go because I'm not in the country. How dare I leave? Sometimes I feel I live in Glastonbury. So in order for that annual general meeting to be quorate, this council really needs to send 2 councillors who can vote on items at the AGM. So I'm hoping there will be 2 councillors who are available on the date of the meeting.
When is the meeting?
Very good question.
I've got 2nd of December.
It's the 2nd of December.
Saturday.
Could you repeat that, please, Conway?
2nd of December between 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. However, the actual AGM is between 12 and 1. Interestingly, beforehand, the leader of Somerset Council is one of the guest speakers, and I believe he'll be talking about asset and service devolution. So it might be a good time to bend that person's ear. So it's between 10 and 3 on the 2nd of December. So I'm hoping 2 councillors will volunteer, please.
Thank you. Is that
Well, Your Worship, I believe I may be this council's representative to that SALT meeting.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm very happy to go on the Saturday, the 2nd of December. I'm very happy to take another council along with me.
Perfect.
Let's hope that the leader of the current unitary authority is a little bit more open to support from the parish councils, as when I suggested that to David Fothergill, when he was in a similar position, speaking to the councils, the parish councils, and I suggested that the parish councils could support the county council in the delivery of services. He said, I don't see why we should put the council tax up or the precepts up. And I think now we know why we should.
Well said, well said. Thank you. Do we have somebody else who would like to? Oh, yeah, Lindsay? Fantastic. You have a taker. So Lindsay and Councillor Cousins will be.
Thank you. The agenda and the invite is in the papers for this evening. However, I will circulate it to you both separately.
Perfect. I've given Lindsay the hard copy. Councillor Henderson and then Deputy.
Just quickly want to make a comment about the Remembrance Day Parade, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and the service was great. I just felt it was a little less organised than we've had in the past. We've always met here 10 o'clock-ish at a sherry, and then at some point, John did say we've had a minute's notice, which was great. We have been kind of told in what order we need to line up. That didn't seem to happen at all. Even when we were downstairs, it was kind of just find it, which created some kind of confusion. And then when we did finally set off, we had the brass band and the piper playing at the same time different songs, which seemed to me to spoil the whole effect of either of them. So I think don't want to debate about it, but I'm just saying for next year, could we get our act together a bit better?
Perfect. Can I just say, we actually came out early, too early.
We did come out too early
Came out too early. And so, yes, our wonderful marshal, like I said, wasn't ready for us to put us actually in an order.
Okay.
But yes, Councillor Cousins?
Well, I was asked to make sure that we left at the time that we did go. So that does need to be a little bit of communications. What I would say is that whoever the musical director is, perhaps they should not be a John Cage fan.
Yeah, I don't know how that actually happened. Thank you very much for your input. Any more, please? Correspondence, communications, announcements. Thank you. Actions arising then from. Sorry.
So for item 19, to consider any items for news release. This morning, Mark Adler, the Mendip Times person, came and talked to me, and I gave him a very short interview about the Christmas lunch. Gave him 2 photos of the setup from last year, which I emailed to him.
Brilliant.
He's very, very pleased. And he said in future, so we'd hoped he was going to come to the induction day on the 18th of December for the volunteers, but one of the deadlines is this Friday and the following one is in December. So he couldn't make either of those. But he said he'll do a story with the photos, send across to Connor, and it'll be in the December Mendip Times.
Perfect. Gosh, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more items for news release?
Well, Chair, is it worth us having more cups than any other in the South West in Bloom? Is it worth us republicising that as a press release?
Absolutely.
And hoping that somebody might pick it up?
No, I actually saw in the Gazette, I can't remember which town, it might have been Weston-super-Mare, holding their very well-earned 1 cup. So, yes, I think even, the Gazette.
Your Worship, we were on the front cover of the Central Somerset Gazette.
Oh, were we?
Yeah.
Oh, Do you have, okay, well, that needs
I
to be.
don't have a copy, but
No, that's, thank you, that needs to be.
The committee clerk sent me a picture.
Amazing.
So that
It
went
did
out,
go out,
that
thank
went out
you.
the day of. Let me just check I've got the right information. Yes, we were. Central Somerset Gazette on the 12th of October.
Perfect, thank
We
you.
had a picture on the front, which was everyone in the main hall that I took, along with the caption, "Blooming marvellous success, see page 4.
Perfect, I
At least
take
we went
that
on
back.
page 3.
Thank you very much. Thank you for putting that in. Brilliant, thank you very much. So going on to review actions arising from this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. I have a number of them, which shouldn't surprise anyone. I've been asked to put this stream, put the link to it explicitly on the website and social media, as you asked for earlier. Bless you. I am to chase the issue with the cycle rack. I am to advise Councillor Smythe when the guys are going to fit the to the tour sign, and if you're able to accompany them, you're welcome. I'm going to organise a meeting of the working party to discuss asset and service devolution. I'm going to inform the responsible finance officer that the council has made a grant toward the Christmas lunch. I am going to move the date of the Financial and General Purposes meeting, as well as give it an update with the responsible finance officer on the conclusion of the external audit. I will write to Somerset Council Highways on behalf of the Town Council supporting a call for the 30-mile-an-hour limit outside of our zone, but to say that this council supports it. There's various actions that have come out of the recommendations this evening, which I've just captured as recommendations actions because there's a number of them. And I will distribute the agenda and invitation to the SALC AGM to Councillors Cousins and myself.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Connor. To note, the date of the next ordinary meeting is the 12th of December. And with that, I declare this meeting closed. Thank you so much.